It is our pleasure to welcome on the man you see down here. Not these two handsome faces. It's Billy Q. The ladies love Billy Q. Billy Quarantillo. How we doing, my friend?
Oh man, thank you so much, man. I'm not sure about all those ladies. I have a lot of male followers, which is, I appreciate it, boys. Appreciate it, young kings. Thank you guys for having me.
Well, the wife,
Oh,
she's like, what are you doing? The kid's coming home. I said, I'm interviewing this guy. Is that cool? She said, one of these. And I said, all right,
Oh,
take it
okay.
easy over there. All right. But listen, Billy, you caught my eye. I've been following you for a while. We're big fans of you over here
Thanks,
at Elite
dude.
Fantasy. But you caught my eye as maybe a sharp. On the Blades Lewis card, you went 3-0 with 3 underdogs. I think it was Arosa, the
Yep.
main event, the Black Beast Eric Lewis, and I
Yep.
think Gordon were your 3 picks.
Yes.
Tell us about, we're here, we bet, we play daily fantasy. We're looking for some winners. We want to talk to you about, obviously, Vegas 21. What do you got going on for this card here, man?
Well, I love it, man, because I follow a lot of, I'm obviously in the UFC, but I follow a lot of the bettors and I follow a lot of people that bet on fights because most of them are fans just like myself. I was excuse me. Not COVID. COVID negative for my Vegas.
He's already had it, guys.
Yeah, I already had it, guys. I'm good. And you'll be okay over there. So I was, obviously I was a huge fan of the UFC before I got into the UFC. Some of these picks, and especially like that pick the other day, because I always make the picks and I go back and forth. You see me always chirping people on Twitter, especially if I'm wrong. They let me hear it. And so yeah, it was kind of a lucky day. I was lucky enough to I've known Jared Gordon for a while. I've been following his career for a long time. Julian Erosa, with that pick, I've known him from the Ultimate Fighter House. So a lot of that was I'm just rooting for my boys. You know what I mean? Like he's one of my buddies. And Derek Lewis, kind of the same thing. I've met him a couple times, and he's always super friendly with me. So those guys, sometimes when I'm making these picks, it's like kind of a personal thing. And I always root for the people that are, like Julian always supports me. I support him. We were roommates and we've stayed close ever since. And so that's the case for some of it. For this fight, man, unfortunately, man, this is a tough card, especially having Gavin Tucker fighting because he was my last opponent. So almost like, you don't want to bet for like, your favorite, your like hometown team, and you don't want to fight. You don't want to like really bet against someone who you've already fought because you kind of, it's kind of a weird situation. I think it's going to be a great card. I think that fight stands out to a lot of people because how evenly matched they are.
Yeah, that's such a great fight, man. To be honest with you, I was surprised that Gavin beat you, Billy. You had all the momentum going into that fight. I love betting on fighters with a long win streak. I know. I saw your tweet today, man. I was watching the fight back, and I think what we saw for that fight, though, his grappling's out of this world, right? Like, it's amazing. So, like, Dan Ige is an incredible fighter, too. He's super underrated. He is a top 10 guy. It's a big step up for Gavin on short notice. But do you think you can pull it off as an underdog here? I know you don't want to bet in this fight, Billy, but as just a pure pick and as an analyst, what do you think happens in this one?
Yeah, and thanks, man. I definitely the unfortunate side of doing the bets and on the Kyle Nelson fight, I won a lot of people money, and other fights, my Contender Series fight, I was a huge underdog. That fight was in Vegas. A lot of my friends and family did pretty well on that one. But yeah, the Gavin Tucker fight, so I was a favorite going into that, and it kept going up, being a more and more favorite. And unfortunately, I got the loss, and I heard from everyone. Everyone's like, "Oh man, I had you in my parlay. I had you here. I had you." And I know, man. I think he did a really good job. I thought he was gonna want to strike with me more, because it is in his earlier fights he kind of danced around a lot. Did a good job using his range, and I knew he wasn't going to be able to dance that much, especially in the smaller cage. And I feel like with my pressure, I knew he wasn't going to be able to do that. But he did a great job of transitioning from that. That unorthodox movement style to doing a great job setting up shots, really making me work with the wrestling, kind of wearing me down, which is something I do to other people. That was probably like the worst part of it is he kind of used my own game plan against me, wore me down, and ended up getting the win. So yeah, he was able to do that to me. Dan Ige will be able to watch that fight and learn from that. So I think going into this fight, does he have what it takes to beat him? Absolutely, but I think Dan Ige might be a little too much for him. He's had some big fights already in UFC.
Yeah, you're right. Let me jump in right before you do, because I know you're going to want to talk about some other fights. Right before we got in there was someone you were mentioning, Gloria DePaula. This girl really caught my eye, Billy. She is nasty. She's mean. She's aggressive. Her Muay Thai is really, really nice. I'm all over her this weekend, Billy. I'm going to bet on her. I know she's I think she was like minus 190 last time I checked. About that, minus 185. So I think she could be a big favorite. Jinh Yu Frey is a very small fighter for that division, a former atomweight in Invicta.
Okay.
An older fighter, Billy, 35 years old. We all know that younger fighters have an advantage in this game. Gloria's 10 years younger. I know you like her. You've actually commentated some fights, I believe, in Brazil. What else can you tell us about Gloria DePaula?
Yeah, so from the 2 fights that I saw, so she actually, it was an earlier fight that she actually lost to a girl. I don't know her name off the top of my head, but maybe you guys know. It was kind of like a DePaula name too. She ended up getting,
yeah. There was 2 girls she lost to that are in the UFC now, Carnelossi and I think it's DePaula too or something. Isabella
it's like
something.
DePaula, because we were commentating.
Yeah.
So for SFT, that commentary, shout out to the president, David Hudson. We actually do like the English commentary. So obviously all the names are like Portuguese and Brazilian. So the 2 fights that I saw, the first fight, she ended up losing. She got pressured a little too much. And the girl just did a good job staying in her face, not letting her use her Muay Thai, not letting her use her range. The next fight I commentated, which was like right after it, even though they were different cards, you could tell she got a lot better at grappling, and she did a lot better of a job keeping her distance against a smaller fighter. When the girl went to take her down, she was able to kind of chuck her off, go back to using her Muay Thai, using her Muay Thai plum really good. And so if you're saying if what you're saying is true about her opponent being an atomweight, being probably on the smaller side, if she's able to use that range and use that Thai plum, and the girl's not able to take her down, she's going to have a lot of success because her Muay Thai looks very good.
Yeah, no, I thought the same thing. She trains at Shooter Box under Diego Lima with Charles Oliveira. Her girlfriend's in the UFC too. Her name's Mayra Bueno Silva. She fought 2 weeks ago, and she had a fight with Montana De La Rosa. I bet on her there, but she grabbed the cage and she lost the point, and there was a draw in that fight. But I'm a big I know, right? That was a bad beat, I think, a little bit, but it was a great fight too. But I think both these girls are really nasty. Is there anything else on this card that like really stands out to you? What about the main event, like Leon Edwards Bilal? That's a great fight. What are you thinking there?
Yeah, let me. Yeah, I'm looking at it now. So what I know, the only thing I really know about Leon Edwards and Bilal, because I'm not like a famous fighter, but I'm in the I'm in the UFC circles a lot. So I was in the PI this past week. I saw Leon Edwards. I did like the say what's up, like we're both fighters type deal. And then I actually saw him. I was at the PI and I had like an empty water bottle. And I was walking by, and we were at this part where I was looking for the garbage, and it was like behind this, like it was like pretty far away and like under a table. And I'm looking at it, and I'm like, oh shit, Leon Edwards is here. I'm gonna throw this, and I gotta try to get it in, like a really tough shot. So it was a tough shot, and I took it, and it was like a perfect. It was probably like a 15-footer. It went up and like ducked right it, and I made it. So I was like, oh man. And so he dabbed me up. So yeah, it was like one of those where like I actually hit it too. Like, we always miss those shots.
Yeah, oh yeah.
And so like I'm like, oh, Leon Edwards are here. So I kind of focused a little bit more, made the shot. Leon Edwards was pumped for me. That's the only time I've ever met him or seen him. And it was exciting. Muhammad, I was in a locker room in New York City. I was in like the workout room. I think he was fighting, and my teammate Matt Frivola was fighting, and I saw him there working out, and like they dabbed it up. I didn't know him at the time, and I still don't know him, so I didn't really say anything. He seems like a really nice guy. Matt had nothing but nice things to say about him, and that's just gonna be. I think it's gonna be a great fight. Leon Edwards coming off that long layoff. There might be some money in the underdog. Muhammad just fought a couple weeks ago. He looked really good against Lima. Didn't look like necessarily like a killer, but he's in there to win the fight, and he did a great job. So I'm leaning towards Leon, but that layoff could be a factor.
Yeah, he's almost a victim of his own success. Part of the problem is the UFC can't find anyone to fight this damn guy. And then, of course, he's scheduled with Chimaev. We have the COVID issues, which hopefully he recovers from those. And here we are today. Anything else you saw on the card that you liked, Billy? You taking any stabs anywhere? Unfortunately, my system's mostly math-based, and it's a lot of dogs that I don't think have any chance to win. But you got to trust the math sometimes. What else are you seeing?
Yeah, and this is probably the worst. You got to get me back on for a card where that like some of these cards I see, I'm like, oh hell yeah,
for sure.
Last week's card would have been perfect.
Yes, yeah, because sometimes I'm like, oh man, I used to, I lived with that dude on the Ultimate Fighter. Like I met that guy on the Contender Series, or I know a lot about him or that. This one, it's kind of like I'm looking at Angela Hill, who I don't know if you can see, she's in the background right here. Yep. She always gives me like the hell yeah, like gives that motivation. That everyone does, Michelle and Overeem and the whole gang over here. So yeah, this card, it's tough, man. I don't know too many. Some people I don't really know that well. I see Eric Anders is a underdog against Darren Stewart. I don't know what you guys feel about that.
That's like such a tough fight to call. I feel like they're like a mirror of each other almost. Like they're both big, strong dudes. Although Eric looked a little bigger at the weigh-in today, I'll say that. Also, he's training at a new camp now. I don't know if you know that, Billy. He's with Fight Ready, Eric Albertine and Henry Cejudo and those guys. So maybe that's a good, maybe that's a good move for him. I mean, we'll see. This is a tough fight to call because I think Darren has really improved his overall game. We saw him submit Maki Pitola in his last fight, but I mean, this fight could be tough. To be honest with you, I'd rather take Anders at a dog price there.
That's what I would say too. I don't know much about Darren Stewart. I've seen him in a couple of fights. Eric Anders came to Tampa once, and he did his pre-fight shakeout at our gym, so it was pretty cool. He seemed like a really nice guy, and he looks good. I feel like he's one of those guys that some fights he looks like he can be a world champion. Some fights he's a little lackluster, so it's just you don't know what you're going to get sometimes.
Yeah, the only thing I'll say, Adam, is, and of course we're going to talk about this here later tonight, Darren Stewart gave Kevin Holland the toughest fight of 2020.
Yep.
And he was the fighter of 2020. I don't know if you've ever met Kevin Holland, Billy, but I mean, it was a split decision, could have gone either way. And, we saw what Holland did to Jacare and everybody else. So I think everyone's sleeping on Stewart. I don't love playing favorite money on him, but how about, what about the first fight of the night? You know anything about Jason Witt or Semmelsberger? Because I think this has some potential to be fireworks here.
No, I don't. I actually, where's Jason Witt training out of? I think
he's training with James Krause.
That's where I seen him, because I follow James Krause. So Jason Witt as an underdog. A lot of times the fights that a lot the public doesn't really know a lot about, sometimes those odds can be a little bit off because they just don't have enough data. So those are a lot of times the fights I really like to get behind. Just unfortunately in this situation, I don't know a ton about either guy. Sure. Jason Witt, obviously, if he's at James Krause's gym, they definitely have something special going on. I've gone back and forth with him. I've seen him out in Vegas a few times. Like he's always in those circles of UFC fighters. He's got a ton of guys over there. So he's obviously at a really good gym. Does that always translates to, victories every time? Absolutely not. But he's at a good gym. I don't really know much about either guy. So that's, that one could be up for grabs for me.
I'll give you do you want to hear a little bit about either guy? I can tell you, Billy.
Yeah, absolutely.
Jason's 1-1 now in the UFC. He took his first fight against Takashi Sato on short notice. And I think it was in Florida. I can't remember. He got knocked out in like a minute, but it was on 24 hours notice. The second fight, he absolutely smashed the guy, but his opponent missed weight by 5 pounds. Didn't even look like he wanted to be there that day. And then obviously he's taking on Semmelsberger here. He's only had one fight in the UFC. He looked really good, I thought. It's an upside player in Semmelsberger for me, because I am going to bet on Semmelsberger, guys. I'm taking a 1 shot on him. Yeah, because for me, it's upside. He's 6 years younger, Billy. He's 28 compared to 34. He only has 9 pro fights, but actually had a lot of amateur experience. And from what I've seen from him, this guy can box, man. And Jason, God bless the guy, but if you look at his record, Billy, he's been knocked out 3 or 4 times now. This guy has a 5-inch reach advantage. That's huge too. So 6 years younger, 5-inch reach, like those are the kind of things I'm looking at. It's an upside play though, because Jason has so much experience, Bellator, UFC, etc. It's upside versus experience, like you just said, Billy. Like, how will that even translate in the cage? We'll have to find out Saturday night, right?
Yeah, exactly. It looks like one of those fights where it seems like right now the odds were, he started off as a much bigger favorite and then it came back down. So maybe, Vegas was right, the first time.
Well, I tell you what, I saw on Instagram, Billy, that you went out and changed with Arosa, and let everybody know where they can find you on social media, Twitter, Instagram, and tell us how that camp went out in Vegas.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So yeah, I went out to Vegas with, again, my teammate Matt Frivola, who we do a lot of stuff. We do a lot of like cross training together. He wanted to go out there for, his teammate in Long Island, Aljamain Sterling, who was fighting for the belt. We ended up going to their basically going to like his party, like at his house. He's been having a bunch of his teammates there. I got a chance to train in his basement the one day. Then the next 2 days we trained at 10th Planet in Vegas with my old teammate Julian Arosa, who he just has that fight booked with I think his last name's Sung or Choi Sung.
Sung Woo Choi, maybe? Is that
Sung Hoo Choi, yeah.
And I saw that announcement. Yeah, it's a great fight.
Yes, that's gonna be a great fight, man. I'm super excited. I'm super excited for him. So we got some really good training, and he got right back to it after coming off that huge win. we had a great training camp. I went to the UFC PI, did all my tests, got all my supplements. I only take supplements now that the UFC gives me because it's just so it's so risky out there.
Yep.
So I got all my supplements. I'm ready to start my, basically get my training camp going. I got a new wrestling coach that we're working with, really, just making my game better overall. Not, obviously people are going to try to take me down after the last fight. So I'm really working on that. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram. I probably use the most, Billy Q MMA, super simple. You don't even have to say my last name, which is Quarantillo, Billy Q MMA. And again, I love doing the picks and I love going back and forth with you guys. So always tweet at me and I'll try to get back to you.
We're definitely going to have you on. Did you say you were at Aljo's party?
Yeah, I was going to ask you that. Were you at the party?
Yeah, I was there.
How was it? How was the atmosphere? How was Aljo's attitude? His mood was.
Yeah, so we were watching the fight, and we're with like his I believe it's his fiance, a bunch of people that he like his old wrestling coach, everyone from Long Island, all the other fighters, Ali Quinta, Matt Frivola, all the UFC guys, and we're watching the fight, and the first 3 rounds were super exciting. We were going nuts, and of course we're like this fight can go either way type atmosphere. And then that happens and we're all like, kind of like freaking out. Like why the hell would Jan do that?
Right.
The people that are like, oh, the fight wasn't going in Aljo's direction. We don't know that, I watched it again. He landed 2 huge head kicks in the 4th round and, neither guy looked like they had a ton of energy. We've seen those fights go either way. So it was, then after, obviously after the fight, he didn't come home right away. We watched the end of the fight card. Amanda Nunes, wow, just looked incredible. The Jan fight, great night of fights. Then Aljo came back and, I think he wasn't like feeling great. I know they did a bunch of tests to him after, but everyone there was just, we were basically celebrating him because, he had a huge long training camp. Every one of us fighters understands, like we got into the sport to be a UFC champion. He didn't do anything wrong. Mm-hmm. So, he won the belt because the other guy did something stupid. He knows he's ready for the rematch. I think he's going to win the rematch because I think he made mistakes that he can make the adjustment to. Whereas Jan was fighting his perfect fight. I don't think Aljo was fighting up to his potential necessarily. After and all those memes and everything with him, with the champagne and stuff, they made him do that. Like he didn't want to do that. They're like, yo, like here's the belt, take it, like put it on, man. Like, you fought for this forever. This wasn't just this last fight. This was every UFC fight he's had, every UFC win, going to every venue. It's a lifetime that he's celebrating. And of course, I know how the UFC Twitter is, like the memes and all that, but that was basically a thing he made you do. He wasn't drinking. He had one thing of champagne. He went down and he basically said, let's watch the fight again. Watch the fight, broke it down, and that's why that as a fighter, that just shows me that's why he is where he's at. He just wanted to break the fight down right away and get right back to work. And I think in the rematch, he's going to be a totally different fighter.
Did you hear what Matt Serra was saying? He said he was really hurt and disrespected. Did you see those comments, Billy?
Yeah. I don't, who am I to say any, to even give my input? I don't know enough about the situation. I would like to hear Aljamain's side. I imagine it's a case of, because of the coronavirus. I know in New York, they haven't really been able to do the type of training that they're used to. And I think that was a reason why a lot of the guys were going to Vegas in the first place. So I imagine he just felt more comfortable going in there with one of the Vegas coaches and with 2 of his guys who are training partners, because I know for my last fight, I didn't have a main training partner there, and fight week, I wish I would have, because no one else could come to me. So you want guys, if it was a normal UFC fight, like in the DC fight, I could call 10 of my friends in to come in and work out with me in the workout room. But then whoever wants to corner me can corner me. So him having those training partners was probably smart because he could use them all week, because you're stuck in the hotel all week with just a couple guys.
Yeah, that makes sense, I guess. Yeah.
So I would like to hear Aljo's side, really.
No, I appreciate that, man. I'd love to hear the fact you were there, because I got to be honest, bro. Merab's pictures with him holding the belt really pissed off a lot of fans, Billy. And I know we don't have much time to talk about that right now, but I appreciate you just giving some input.
I was right there for that, and I don't want anyone to think it was like Aljo certainly didn't come home and he's like, I'm the champion, I'm the man. But he also didn't do anything wrong. So it's like, I think the ref should have stopped that fight sooner, because I think once it happened, it was so blatant. Like, if you have he had one knee on the ground, basically 2 knees on the ground. He was just getting his first knee up. It's such a blatant move. I've been in that position a million times where I could either knee the person or not knee him, and you just can't do it. So he didn't do anything wrong. And people that are like, oh man, he was acting. Dude, I would do the same thing, man. How can you fight
the fucking head? Yeah,
I know exactly. Like, how do you fight after that? After you just got kneed that hard illegally? Like, there's only like a couple things that are illegal, and that's one of them. So it's like it's a lose-lose situation. But he's gonna get a title fight after that. They obviously have to do the rematch, and then I think hopefully that'll settle it.
It just sucks because, man, it was such a great fight, guys. I love that fight, man. It was an awesome one.
They got to run it back. They have to run it back. And look, Billy, we know you have some exciting news coming up. You can't really talk about it here, but we want to have you on again before that comes up. If you have a particular card where you got some picks, let me know. Otherwise, I'll keep hitting you up on Twitter. Make sure you guys follow Billy on Instagram and Twitter for sure. Really appreciate the insights. It's a ton of fun, man. We'll do this again.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Thank you guys, man. It was great. It was great seeing you. Thanks for having me. And I'll keep going back and forth with you guys on Twitter.
Yeah. Oh, good, man. Thanks.
Let's do it.
All right, later, guys. See you later.